Morning, everybody. Am I audible? Today you have stuffed your ears with all the protective gear. So am I audible to all of you? So if you recall, in the last lecture, we had talked about guidelines for authorship and what constitutes conflict of interest, who can or cannot be an author on a study. And I think by now you must be pretty clear about what constitutes responsible conduct of research. So when we say that we are conducting the research responsibly, we mean that the research we are maintaining, we are adhering to all the guidelines that contribute towards maintaining research integrity, because all the things that we have studied till now constitute rules in which we can adhere to research integrity, we can conduct research responsibly, and we can report research data responsibly. So research integrity constitutes adherence to rules, regulations, guidelines, and commonly accepted professional codes or norms of research with all honesty. This is not working, is it? Okay, now it's fine. So till now, I think if you recall, this is what we were talking about. So what constitutes, we'll move on to what constitutes research misconduct. What are different areas, what are the deviations which can contribute towards, which can be considered as research misconduct. So violation, what is research misconduct? Responsible conduct of research, obviously, it means that you have adhered to all the rules which have been, shared with you. You have must have gone through the COPE document. If you have not gone through it, no problem. But at some point of time, you should find time to go through the document so that you will be well aware of the practices. So any violation of the standard codes of scholarly conduct and ethical behavior in professional scientific research is defined as research misconduct. So any deviation, whatever we had considered as unethical earlier, if you have been, indulging in such kind of actions, they will constitute research misconduct. So research misconduct is defined as fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism in proposing, like designing your study, performing, reviewing research, or in reporting research results. So everything, essentially everything from design to dissemination. पांच steps आपको याद ही होंगे. I guess you remember the 5 steps, 5 major steps of a research proposal, the flow chart, right? A checklist. I think you must have gone through the checklist. You might have made your mental checklist or the physical checklist. If you have not done it yet, it's a good idea to finish it before next week. Okay, so that like whichever classes become your last classes, we have the report with me, right? I have the report answer to the questions. So research misconduct does not include, what does not constitute misconduct? It does not include honest error or difference of opinion. Honest errors in reporting. Honest, sometimes you may be overwhelmed, or you may be you may not have enough time. Although that's not an excuse, but honest errors can happen. But if you have documentation, if you have your reports which can supplement that the error was honest, it's not like you will not be spared. But any error or any misconduct done intentionally, if you're indulged in misconduct intentionally and you were well aware of the fact that you were fabricating the data, or you were falsifying the data, that does not constitute responsible conduct of research. Okay? So honest errors are spared, but for that, to prove that it was an honest error, you need your documents to be complete. Okay. So for example, I'll give you an example. For example, you have picked a picture twice. We have hundreds of pictures which we might be scanning as a as a proof for our result. Pictures, I hope you understand that pictures for people of architecture, it may be a design document, right? The architect may have created multiple design documents, multiple pictures of whatever design. So maybe unintentionally the design that was not intended to be a part of result got fixed in the final results, right? So it's an honest error. And how will you supplement? How will you suggest to the reviewer that you have made an honest error? How will you prove to the reviewer, okay, it was an honest error? Because honesty to prove करनी पड़ती है ना. If you are accused of something, you have to prove that you are innocent. How will you prove? With the raw data. That means you have to record your raw data too, right? So if this architect has designed the charts himself or herself, that fellow might have the drawings, right? So those raw drawings can be shared, right? For people in science, you can share the raw data with the reviewers. So that means reporting has to be done very accurately and in real time, right? If you're harvesting your data today, it has to be recorded today itself, right? Or maybe tomorrow. But no, you don't have to take a whole week to record the result because sometimes you miss the final points of the results, right? So you need to have a responsibly documented data so that you can prove that the error was honest. And if you cannot prove this, it will be considered that you have indulged in misconduct. है ना? Okay, I'll give you some case studies in which very important findings were quashed. They were retracted because the researchers could not share the raw data. All right, raw data. I hope you understand the raw data. Raw data is something which you are gathering on an everyday basis, which becomes the part of your final data presentation. Fabrication is making up data or results and record and fabricating not only data, results, and fabricating the records and fabricating numbers while reporting them too. Okay. Falsification is manipulating research materials. Manipulating would mean that if you had, I told you earlier, like falsification, there's a gray area between falsification and fabrication, right? So if you were working on 100 subjects, you got the data for 90, and from those results, you created results for the other 10. That is both falsification and fabrication because you have fabricated data for the 10 subjects which were not part of your study, right? They never existed, so it's fabricated data. And you also falsified the results based upon extrapolated result from the other 90 entries, right? So there's a gray, there's an overlap between falsification and fabrication. So falsification is manipulating research materials, equipment, or processes, changing or omitting data or results such that the research is not accurately represented in the research record, right? So I told you right in the beginning that manipulating equipment is not possible nowadays, right? Unless you are a pro in manipulation. If somebody is a pro in manipulation, if somebody can also manipulate the computer records, then it may be possible. But the person needs to really be very lazy in doing the research. Actually, I think the time taken in manipulating the results would be more than actually doing the experiment, isn't it? So changing equipment records is not possible nowadays because I have told you earlier that the systems nowadays come with the in-house logs. The system has a log. So if you have done the experiment on that computer or on a piece of equipment, it will be recorded. And it will not only be recorded in the computer itself, it will be recorded on the cloud. Okay. So we can harvest the data from there. And nowadays you are also asked for system records. Okay. So for example, you have done an experiment of HPLC or gas chromatography, some characterization. You may be asked for the system records too. Okay. Why? So while using an experiment, there is a register kept using an equipment. It may be an equipment. I mean, will you be using any equipment during your research? Some of you will be. Most of you will be using because I think we have more people from science and engineering, right? Okay, isn't it? So you will be using equipment. There is a small register that is kept near the equipment. It's called a logbook. It's called a logbook. So we are using physical logbooks. So we rely on your honesty that you would make an entry there, right? Okay. This logbook is also a record of that you have done the experiment and you've used the experiment equipment for your results on that day. Logbook का क्या part है? I mean, if you had time, I would have taken you to the lab. Maybe we'll find time next week or after you come back. I don't know till what time you have your classes. When are your exams? January? Huh? 17th January. So I think you'll get some time. I'll take you to the lab to show you all these things which I am, telling you now, right? So that's okay. I mean, the dates will come forward. The dates will come forth. So it's okay. You may have your exam in January. So before January, we'll make it a point that you visit the laboratories so that you can have a understanding of what I mean by logbooks. Logbook is just an entry register. So in some institutes, they have digital entry registers like a biometric system. Okay. So fudging that data is not possible. If you have used the instrument, your biometric would be there. Okay. Fine. So if it's not applicable to you, it doesn't matter. Everything is applicable to all streams. All right. So for plagiarism, फैब्रिकेशन का अभी हमने आपको एग्जांपल बताया है कि आपके अगर आप किस स्ट्रीम में हैं, आप एजुकेशन से लॉ में है, सो आप कह रहे हैं कि आपने 100 लोगों के बयान लिए एज विटनेसेस, राइट? आपको 100 लोगों के बयान लेने हैं एक्चुअली में, राइट? या सर्वे करना है तो 100 लोगों का करना है, आपने 80 लोगों का कर लिया, राइट? एंड 80 लोगों का एनालाइज कर लिया डेटा। अब आपने सोचा कि चलो 20 लोग भी अगर कुछ भी बताएंगे, राइट, it might not have any influence on the results. तो आप इन्हीं 80 के बेसिस पे बाकी 20 लोगों का भी बयान क्रिएट करें। That is fabrication, because you did not actually get data entries from 100 people that you were required. So whatever you have created is fabrication, and it's also falsification because you are creating a document which did not exist. So अगर आपने extrapolate किया smaller sample से, result या inference, हमारे को तो inference मिलेगा at the end of a result, right? At the end of a research, we'll get some inference.
And that is not manipulation. Manipulation is a falsification.
No, it is manipulation because we would consider it to be a manipulation because 80 people. Okay, you're saying that 80% of the people are telling something. But that does not, we cannot report on the basis of those 80 people, right? If I have to take 100 people, I should at least make the effort to get the alternate view from other 20. क्योंकि वो 20 हमें नहीं पता, वो 20 डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन भी दे सकते हैं, तो माइनॉरिटी व्यू होगा, लेकिन होगा वो व्यू, उनका भी व्यू इंपॉर्टेंट हो सकता है। तो इस वजह से मैनिपुलेशन भी है, क्योंकि आप अपने जजमेंट को यूज करके कह रहे हैं कि हाँ हमें 80 लोगों ने ये चीज बताई है तो ये यूनिवर्सल है। मे बी वो 20 जो अलग आप ले रही होती, मे बी उन 20 का ओपिनियन डिफरेंट होता,
Then fabrication is also falsification.
Yeah, that is why I said that there is an overlap in some cases. There's an overlap. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is the appropriation of. What is plagiarism? Is it very common?
Yes, ma'am.
What is plagiarism? What do you understand?
Ma'am, to copy others' ideas.
Yes, is appropriation of another person's ideas, processes, results, or words without giving appropriate credit. So, do you think we have been plagiarizing anything during the lifetime of a student? We have been students. Do you think that we have been plagiarizing anything?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
What? Give me an example.
Preparing the MBA dissertation report. Ma'am, in MS we do copy directly from Google, but at that time we didn't know that it has so much of a crime.
Oh, it is a crime. It's actually a crime. नहीं गलत है ना इसीलिए अब हमने उसमें वो चेक पॉइंट्स लगाए हैं राइट अब universities even in masters the master's dissertation cannot be submitted without the plagiarism report okay right but you're telling the case of plagiarism at master's level. I mean it's very sad but it's not right. So this is why this course should be taught when? When should this course be taught? No, it should be taught in the schools because the school student is also plagiarizing. Assignment plagiarized कर रहा है सबमिट है ना एक बच्चे ने बनाया वही रेप्लिकेट कर दिया कोई इनोवेशन नहीं आ रहा है कोई ओरिजिनलिटी नहीं आ रही है राइट है कि नहीं तो स्कूल के बच्चे को भी ये समझाना जरूरी है कि नो दिस इज नॉट द राइट प्रैक्टिस आप 2 लाइन लिखिए बट राइट इट इन योर ओन वर्ड्स राइट getting inspired for getting inspired for ideas is fine आप क्रेडिट दे सकते हैं रेफर कर सकते हैं कि ओके आई गॉट द इंस्पिरेशन फ्रॉम सो एंड सो पेपर सो यू कैन रेफर टू इट राइट बट जस्ट कॉपीइंग somebody else's ideas just copying somebody else's way of writing is not right because आपका तो उसमें कोई input नहीं है why do we lag in innovation why do you think we lag in innovation
Because we took study that burden.
huh
We took study that burden. We want to finish immediately. We do not create.
So who has compelled us to go in this direction? I mean, if we are not interested in studying, we should not. System? We cannot change the system. Parents also? Why? Parents क्या करते हैं? मतलब अगर parents अपना parental control ना use करें, तो what do you think? What will happen? Like, what will the kids do?
Parents are not responsible alone. Actually, the education system is like that कि हम लोग उसमें बच्चों को ऐसे इंडल्ज ही नहीं कर पा रहे हैं.
Burden ज़्यादा है. Burden ज़्यादा है. You're not getting enough time to engage with the students.
जब डिफरेंस देखिए आप जापान में टोक्यो में बच्चों को और इंडियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम में तब आपको पता चलता है कहाँ लैग कर रहे हैं हम लोग.
Yes, it's a systemic problem. We, our new education policy is trying to, in principle, it's, on paper, it's trying to, overcome all these problems. But who has the time? जो आप जापान का एग्जांपल दे रहे हैं जापान में first 5 years of the life of the student not 5 years 7 years 7 years that the student is not learning ABCD is not learning how to write and read the student is learning life skills the student is learning all the necessary actions that the person has to deal with later on how the food is grown right why cleanliness is important. They make the kids independent. They teach them life skills, not reading and writing. Reading and writing comes organically to them, and that is why their mind gets sharpened right from the beginning. When you are putting these pencils and putting a burden of learning from 1 to 100. A child, who is just barely cannot even express his or her emotions. We are forcing that child to write from 1 to 100. The first the child is still not able to, connect two words. उसे नहीं पता A and M is am, but we, force that fellow to learn. A, M is am. He or she has not organically done it. So we need an overhaul. You're right. We need an overhaul right from the system. And why did we come to this question? We came to this question that we have been plagiarizing all our life. Not us, but maybe sometimes. Maybe us also, right? In the form of assignments, in the form of short summaries, right? I think Hindi and languages may you have to write summaries. क्या कहते थे उसको, synopsis जो लिखना था हिंदी में, सारांश, right? So one person would write that saransh, and that originality would not would get finished right there, because the saransh was common for the entire class, right? So this is where the problem starts. We have to curtail this problem in the schools. We have to curtail this problem in the schools. So people from education, please, take it as a part of your PhD thesis and your reports, so that it can be inculcated in the policy. तो हमारे बच्चे लैब इसीलिए कर रहे हैं, PhD में नहीं हम उनको सिखा सकते हैं innovation. Right? This has to come organically. They have to develop that thought process right in the beginning. But we force them कि नहीं आपको 1 to 12 लिखिए, 20 लिखिए, वो सब change हो जाना चाहिए. Maybe not in my lifetime, maybe sometime it will. Okay, so plagiarism we have been doing as a culture from our schools probably, right? But now the school teachers, the educationists, they have a huge contribution. I have deep respect for school teachers because they are shaping the future. And if they are not respected properly, I think we don't have a future as a nation. We don't have a future as a nation if we are not able to respect the teachers who are shaping up our brains. You are already mature. You already have a particular thought process. We cannot change that completely, right? But we are molding those small children. We can help them grow, their brains grow in the proper manner. So innovation can starts from this, when you are bringing some originality in somebody else's idea. Using the idea for inspiration is fine, but putting in your mind to innovate on that idea is your original contribution, right? So plagiarism is an endemic problem. We have been facing it right in the schools. So we need to start education from there. All right. So plagiarism is the appropriation of another person's ideas. I already told you processes, results, words without giving appropriate credit. So what do we do? All right, we'll go to that. Fabrication is making up data, reporting. So reporting on experiments that never happened or patients that never existed. These were some of the fabrication cases in the news. Professor Stapel, a former professor of social psychology in Netherlands, made up most of his data. He has currently over 58 retracted papers. I think we talked about retractions. Retracted papers are those papers in which the researchers who could not furnish enough documentation nor data integrity. The data was compromised. They could not prove that it was an honest error. So obviously, the results have to be retracted from all databases so that you do not get access to that data and you do not formulate your hypothesis based upon that data. Okay? ठीक है? All right. तो स्टेपल जी ने क्या किया? उन्होंने पूरा डेटा ही बना लिया. Okay? Yoshitaka Fuji, a Japanese researcher with over 180 retractions, 126 of which were totally fabricated. Some of these are listed on PubPeer. PubPeer is a website, it's an integrity watch website which evaluates your data post-publication. Post-publication, like, even if, the scientist may be dead, the person who has reported this result may be dead, but these people can evaluate the data for integrity. Okay, so PubPeer is a integrity kind of it's a citizen group. It's again a consortium of detectives, science detectives, who look for data manipulation. They have their own ways to identify, and I'll teach you those ways. Fine. In falsification, experimental measurements might have been altered so that the research is not accurately represented. Some examples of research falsification are removing an outlier from a series of measurements, changing a measurement to make it look higher or lower. Okay, changing a measurement to look it higher, to make it higher or lower. Adjusting the brightness of one particular gel band, but not the other bands in the same photograph. Adjusting pictures, using filters, not the filters that you use in your own pictures, right? Enhancing the quality, just to show you misrepresent the idea. Okay, fine. Misrepresentation, In fact, ये भी एक misconduct ही है. You're fooling the customers. If somebody is making an ad for a fairness cream, for example, right, and it does not make anybody fair, right? So what are you doing? It's a wrong example, but then it's an example which everybody would connect to, right? And the celebrity is, telling us 100 stories. Ki, okay, you'll become fair, you'll become bright, and all that will glow, so on and so forth, right? That is also misrepresentation. Okay, because they're using all these filters, they're using 100 kilos of makeup, and they are, presenting to us. All right. So that's also misrepresentation and fabrication, unethical behavior. Maybe not exactly fabrication, but it is unethical. Adding error bars to single measurements. So error bars cannot be, put on single measurements. You have to have multiple data points, and then you can calculate standard error, and then the error bars can be put, right? Reusing the same Western blot, either in the same orientation or mirrored, rotated, or stretched. This is a very common problem in biological data. Not only biological data. Do you know what? Now nobody believes data which only has histograms. If you are representing your data only in numbers, nobody is going to believe you. Why do you think? ऐसा क्यों problem? Why do you think nobody will believe data which has been represented in histograms, numbers only? Because there's no corroborative evidence, right? So for every representation, you need to have second method by which you can corroborate the result, right? Okay. So if you are having witness reports for 100 people, you at least need to have documentation, video documentation of some supplemental data, some supplemental data. All right. So if you're having spectrophotometric data in numbers, you need to use some other mechanism, some other method by which you can corroborate your result. Okay? Corroboration means उसी चीज को दूसरे मेथड से बताना है कि हाँ वही रिजल्ट्स मिल रहे हैं. Okay? Showing two overlapping microscopy images to represent two different experiments. Presenting data as if derived from cell line A while it was obtained from cell line B. So cell lines are regular models that are used in biological research, animal cells or plant cell lines. So it's like a case of somebody is working on colon cancer, but he or she did not have access to the colon cancer cell lines, so they decided, okay, let us do this experiment on insect cell lines. Okay, and whatever results were obtained on insect cell lines were presented as results derived from colon cancer. So that is also falsification. Duplicating some cells on a photograph, or showing results to make it look like that the treatment has worked. Okay. To show that a particular medicine is very effective, or to show that okay, we gave medicine to 10 patients and 10 volunteers, and you had not 10 control subjects, but those control subjects were not a part of the study. So that is falsification. I don't know what your study plans are going to be, but I would insist that during the study design, please discuss your study proposals in detail with your supervisors. Spend some more time on designing, then execution will become easier. If you become lax and very lazy in the beginning, it will create a problem later on. So spend some good amount of time and effort in designing the study. Okay. Both fabrication and falsification are serious forms of misconduct because they result in a scientific record that does not accurately reflect observed truth. To help prevent fraud, most publishers have strict policies on manipulation of images and access to the reported data. So it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with them before you submit a paper. I've talked about advice to authors. Had I talked about it? That every paper before you submit, it has a column for advice to authors. So it tells you about how many pictures you need to submit. It tells you like how many, whether you need to submit the results in duplicate or in triplicate. It tells you about that. It tells you about whether you have to submit the raw data right away or they may ask it later. Some journals ask us to submit raw data at the time of submission. Some journals ask for the raw data after review. Okay, so you need to be aware of the authorship guidelines, advice to the authors. That is why I'm saying it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with the advice to authors before you submit the paper, right? तो आप अभी 6 months later आप अपना एक journal choose कर लीजिएगा, 4-5 journals. You can choose 4 or 5 journals to which you intend to submit at some point of time. So arrange your studies accordingly. For example, a journal where you want to submit, it's asking you for 4 sets of experiments. So if you have not done the 4th set or the 3rd set, you cannot repeat the experiment again. Multiple times you cannot repeat it again. There may be constraints. The animals may have been killed. So we'll have to design the experiments again. It will take more time. So it's better to go about your research in an intentional way. तो अपने papers choose कर लीजिए 8-10 and see what their guidelines are and accordingly अपने research को proceed करें. Okay, is that clear? Are you even listening? Because it's very cold, so it may have numbed the brains too. Huh? No? Smile a bit because you need some warmth in your heads, right? Manipulation of images. Images may be manipulated for improved clarity only. No specific feature within an image may be enhanced, obscured, moved, removed, or introduced. Adjustment of brightness, contrast, or color balance are usually acceptable. Adjustment of brightness is acceptable, contrast is acceptable, but it has to be done for all pictures. The same treatment has to be given to all pictures. You cannot adjust brightness of control and leave the test as it is, right? So you have to apply these filters to all. It's better not to adjust at all, because if the picture quality is good, it will be reflective enough. Laiba, नींद आ रही है तुम्हें? Okay, data access and retention. Okay, data access and retention. Data access. I don't know whether you remember or not, but let me remind you that the property, your data register, is the property of the इंस्टीट्यूट, ओके। डेटा रजिस्टर जिस पे आप डेटा अपना मेंटेन कर रहे हैं, रिकॉर्डिंग कर रहे हैं और आपके गाइड को दिखा रहे हैं टाइम टू टाइम। I told you that you should show this data register to your supervisor at periodic intervals. Periodic intervals you have to decide, and your supervisor has to decide what that periodicity would be. Maybe not quarterly, once in a month, twice in a month, 4 times a week. In my lab, I maintain a practice of Saturday meetings. So that gives us an idea what the student has been doing. So we have these Saturday afternoon meetings where we get to see the data and we get to vet the ideas as to whether the experiment is working or not, or whether any troubleshooting is required. So the frequency of these meetings can be decided by you, usually you and your supervisor, but the data recording notebooks have to be signed by the supervisor, right? Okay, periodically. आप साल में एक बार ले आएंगे तो फिर क्या फायदा इस exercise का, right? Do you think it's useful? Why is it not useful? In fact, it's the reverse. Supervisor is a facilitator here. Okay, you have to, be proactive. Yeah, you are right. This is the reason because 1 year will be too late to do course correction. 1 year of your life, right? So course correction is not easy. छोटे छोटे intervals use करेंगे तो course correction is easier, right? Simple common sense, not a very difficult thing to follow. Okay. So authors may be asked to provide the raw data in connection with the paper for editorial review. Therefore, all data for a specific paper should be retained for a reasonable time after publication. There should be a named custodian for the data. So the named custodian is the institute, actually your supervisor. So your data recording books have to be maintained impeccably because it stays with the institute. We have to retain the data for at least 10 years. Okay? Yeah. 10, minimum 10.
So raw data has to be submitted to
हाँ जी,
our
PI को.
your guide.
हाँ गाइड, PI मतलब हाँ गाइड ही, मैं सिंपल टर्म्स में गाइड यूज करूंगी. आई एम मोर यूज टू यूजिंग दिस टर्म PI, प्रिंसिपल इन्वेस्टिगेटर. सो डोंट गेट कंफ्यूज्ड. PI इज योर सुपरवाइजर. जी अपने गाइड को आपको सबमिट करके जाना चाहिए. So एक shared drive रख सकते हैं आप. You can keep a shared drive where you are posting all your data. You also have access to it, and the guide also have. That is why this relationship of guide and the student is very sacred, right? It is based upon trust. I have access to the data that my student has generated with this knowledge that I'll not, create problems for the student, right? कि उसका डेटा खींच लिया कि नहीं आप जाओ, अब तुम्हारा PhD नहीं हम होने देंगे, नहीं, isn't it? So that is why इसमें this relationship में बहुत trust होना चाहिए. You should be, you have to have that blind faith. So इतना easy नहीं है supervisor बनना, ना ही student बनना, right? Ideal, honest. Okay. Why? Because it's easy. Like when we are trusting each other, it's easier. कोई problem नहीं है. Transparency रहेगी. The data would be the drive. I can see at my ease. The student can do analysis at their ease, right? Hide. Why do we hide something? Why do we hide something? I'm asking you a question. Why do we hide?
When we don't have trust on others.
Why don't we have this trust? चलो उसके बहुत सारे reasons होंगे. We are not indulge in that. I'll leave you with this thought, right? But ये PhD तो trust के ही basis पे ही चलेगी, right? If you're saying that okay, I have generated this data, okay, initially I may not trust you. You are a new student in my lab, right? Okay, so what will I do? I'll frequently come to the lab and see whether you are working. And when I am, totally satisfied, okay, whatever piece of result my student is showing me, it has been rated, actually, then there's no problem. But initially, as a supervisor, I'll make this effort. I will go to the lab frequently to check whether the work has been done correctly or not, right? We have a restless batch of students at the back, especially from medical college. Are there any questions that you have? Lady in pink. जी बताएं कोई क्वेश्चंस हैं आपके? आप ही से बात कर रहे हैं जो पीछे बैठे हुए हैं. I'll talk to you after the class. No. The girls are getting the idea. Third row, near the door. Anyways, we don't want to disturb the class. Okay. Fine. ठीक है ये क्लियर है आपको? तो रिटेंशन हमें रखना है.
What about the physical questionnaire which we would be filling?
हाँ वो आपको रखना है because वो आपके thesis का
वो गाइड को देंगे या हमारे?
नहीं वो भी गाइड है. कोई प्रॉपर्टी आपकी नहीं, आपको एक मेंटेन करना पड़ेगा. उसका आप रख सकते हैं लाइक फोटोकॉपी. Okay, it's the property of the institution because आप चले जाएंगे, maybe you'll go for your job, inshallah, wherever you'll get a promotion somewhere, right? Okay, you may join in some other country, so it will not be easy for us to find the data, but a publisher might want to see the data, so I have to present the data, isn't it? So, studies undertaken in human beings, for example, clinical trials have specific guidelines about the data of duration of data retention. So, this is again a checklist. You have to see it. I would not go into details of this checklist. I think now you have been trained enough to use the checklist, isn't it? So, first thing is the action. What is the action? Manipulating data. What is it? Intentionally modifying or changing or omitting data, right? Are you guilty of doing this? While you're signing your checklist, what should be the answer? Yes or no?
No.
Your answer should be no, right? And it should be an honest no, right? But if it's yes, then it's unethical, right? It's misconduct. Okay, action क्या है? Manipulating data. What is the definition of manipulation? Intentionally modifying, changing or omitting data. Is it unethical? It is unethical if you are putting yes as an answer. If you're putting no as an answer, then there's no problem. You can move forward. So comprehensive guidelines on data management and ethical handling of digital images can be found at the Office of Research Integrity. I have given you the link. You can go use this link to find out what the guidelines are for what? Data quality, image quality, and so on and so forth. Okay. And another way, what is the other way? Other way is to go to advice to authors for a particular journal. What should you do? Never tamper with or change data. Keep meticulous. See, this is okay. This you would understand. Never tamper with or change data. This is what you have to follow. Keep meticulous records of your data. Meticulous records of your data. Okay. वही जो lab notebook में आपकी कह रही थी. Good institutes have digital notebooks. So good research institutions. I'm not aware of any university that has a electronic notebook. So once universities also catch up to this, necessity, then probably we will be the pioneers in doing that. We'll be the initiators. So digital notebooks are an option, or till that time, this cooperative attitude of supervisor and the scholar. So meticulous records of your data. Records में क्या रखना है? Your copies have to be numbered. They have to be numbered. The numbers have to be punched in the data notebook so that the pages cannot be ripped apart, right? And the copies have to be signed by your supervisor. Data आज का हमने report किया या कल का या एक महीने पहला, so उस पे deliberation हुआ है. the results obtained are correct, बस इतना होना चाहिए, right? Date के साथ, okay? Date के साथ आप जब data reporting करेंगे तो date वगैरह mention करेंगे कि नहीं करेंगे?
Yes.
हर नोटबुक पे ऊपर डेट लिखा होता है, but we do not take it very seriously generally. We are not trained to take it seriously. Are we? So we have to train ourselves, right? The date column is very important in your data notebook. So understand the publisher's policies on data before you submit a paper. ये मैं पहले ही बता चुकी हूँ. Advice to authors में you have to understand the data requirement policies. All right, manipulating data images. So if you have manipulated the data image, now it's easy to identify whether the image has been plagiarized or not, or manipulated or not, right? There are softwares which are available. I'll tell you about the softwares in the due course of time, okay? So manipulating data, this can include research materials, processes, tables, or equipment. If your answer is yes, the action is unethical, okay? ठीक है, तो ये करना नहीं है. You don't have to manipulate the period. You don't have to change things which are not ethical, right? Brightness, contrast, I have told you there's no problem in that, right? But whatever is problematic, you don't have to do that. Okay, fine. This I have talked about earlier. All right. So we were talking about data integrity, image integrity, right? Last point, what was the last point in the previous slide? Let's go to the previous slide, this one. Manipulating data images, right? Okay, so data image can be in the form of a microscopy image, it can be in the form of a table, it can be in the form of a histogram, it can be in the form of Western plots, और क्या हो सकता है? Graphs, pie charts हो सकते हैं, in addition architecture वालों के लिए designs हो सकते हैं, right? Human studies के histograms हो सकते हैं, pathology की images हो सकते हैं. It's a good thing that we are in the era of AI. Most of it is good, right? But some of it is bad. The technology is not good or bad. The users are either ethical or unethical, right? So the technology is good as far as you are using it for ethical purposes, right? And if you're using the same technology for generating images, then it's a different ball game, right? So we were talking about whether we should manipulate data images. So no, we should not manipulate data images because there are tools available with every good publisher who can check whether your data images are manipulated or not. Let us see how, okay? There are some image and research integrity AI softwares available. These softwares, the first one is photo forensics. Okay? What is the software? Photo forensics. As the name indicates, it's a forensic software. It is a software which has been created to check image integrity. Okay? Image integrity, Mani? To see whether this image, the image that you are submitting or the image that you have submitted for publication, the publication house will match it with millions of images that are there in the database, right? So wherever it will find a match, it will quickly tell that the image is a part of some bigger image or is a part of some older paper, has already been reported. ठीक है, समझ रहे? Are you able to understand this? So it's a tool which helps you in forensic analysis of pictures. These are image integrity tools. What are they? Image integrity tools. So photo forensic tool is used to analyze whether an image has been manipulated. All right, there are tutorials present on the site where of the photo forensic tool, right? Okay, some of it is available to you in the demo mode, like it's not paid, right? But if you want to use the advanced tools, then some premium may be attached. Right? You have to make the premium, submission. You have to subscribe to the tool. Okay? But then these tools are available. Photo forensics is one tool. Another tool is proofing. Proofing AI image detector. Proofing AI image detector. So what does it do? Proofing provides solutions. This particular tool is again an image integrity tool. क्या है ये? Image integrity detector tool. Image integrity detector tool. So what are we trying to detect? We are trying to detect whether the image is an original image or has been harvested from the pre-existing data. Okay? Fine. So कौन कौन से है? Photo forensics है, image twin है. One more I'm telling you, image twin. Image twin as in identical twins. Digital twin जैसे होते हैं. Image twin उसका tool का नाम है, software का नाम है. And the third one widely used is proofing. Proofing AI software. So proofing AI image detector provides solutions in automating the image review processes. It enables users to check images prior to peer review and publication. You don't actually need a tool because if you are, confident that the image has been raised by you, I mean, it has been actually, it's an original image which you have captured in your lab instrument. You don't need to use it, right? But if you are not confident, if you have, taken the image from literature, chopped it down, use some area of that image, then you will have to put it through proofing. आप करें या ना करें, publisher तो करेगा, right? Because हमें access नहीं है, it's these tools are not very cost effective, so we need to have institutional subscriptions to such tools, right? So whether you are having access to proofing or not, that is immaterial. Publisher has access to proofing. So whichever images you are sending for publications, the publication house will run it through proofing. Okay? वो एक forensic test करेगा आपके data पे, right? Okay? Is it clear? So whether you have access to the tool or not, that is immaterial. The publisher has it, so all your pictures that you are sending for publication will be run through the proofing automated software. So it proactively checks image integrity. It also reduces the risk of costly investigations and retractions. So because you are doing it before, the publisher is doing it before publication, so retraction cost is lost. You know? And the damage that happens when the false data comes into public domain, that damage is controlled right in the beginning. So you can use this link for going into details of this software. There are 4 stages of proofing. They are simple, 4 steps, very simple. You just have to upload PDF of your images. Okay? You just have to, what the publisher has to do, they will upload your images on their software tool. The software will validate. How will it validate? It will find a pattern in your image and millions of images that are there in the database, right? And in the third step, it will give you all those images which are identical to your image. They may not be completely identical, they may be showing partial identity, so that is where we have to human intervention is required. Sometimes it may find pictures like if the result is such that it may have been reported earlier for some other protein, it will match those points. It will give you an identical image. So you have to apply your own understanding there, right? But mostly it is around 99% accurate. Whatever results it's giving, it's 99% accurate. So upload your image, get it validated against a database, then review AI duplication and alteration using forensic tools, and finally, it will generate a comprehensive report. So at the end, you will get a report of whether your images has failed the test or has passed the test. Passed the test of what? Image integrity.
Ma'am, supposing if an image is genuine, but still it matches.
हाँ वही मैं कह रही हूँ. So उधर आपको अपना human understanding use करना पड़ेगा. Even if it matches, so जो पुराना matched होगा वो तो कहीं published होगा ना, right? So we can counter it, right? They would also, I mean, the publisher will also not send you the report before reviewing it. You're getting my point? So if they got a duplicate report, they would also get. I mean, most of you must have used ChatGPT. Have you used? ChatGPT gives you citations, doesn't it? Wherever it's from wherever it's finding the what do you say, content, it's giving you the citation. Similarly, the duplicate image with which your original image is showing similarity, they will have citation for that paper. So human interface would make sure that the report is not sent without any deliberation. Okay, so you're right. There, the 1% that I was talking about is comes because of positives. False positives, as in an original image, fresh image may match some previous image. The broad pattern matching, match. But then they have finer tools by which they can find the dissimilarities. ठीक है? So pattern ही करता है ना, AI क्या कर रहा है? Like AI is finding patterns. So in a microscopy image, you may have a pattern. The pattern may broadly match, but then there are finer tools, right? आपने रेडियो सुना होगा ना? So you go for fine tuning to get the correct frequency, right? So they will also fine tune it by using finer search options. So they'll not send you the report right away. They would apply some human understanding. So be mindful that even if you do not have access to proofing, all right, the publisher has access to proofing. They'll not send your paper before running it through the tool. So it's a good practice. Whatever data that you are reporting in the paper should be original. Have I made my point clear, loud and clear? Fine. Okay. All right. So image forensics. So this is a case study. Right. This is a case study that I'm going to share with you. That a very good publication house has started using image forensics as a practice. Okay. So this publishing journal. It's the name of a journal. OncoTarget is the name of a very respectable journal, but somehow they lost their respect for some time because a lot of papers got retracted from this journal. Okay, lot of papers got retracted because the data was not found to be integral enough. Okay, so they decided as a policy that they'll use image forensics as a standard operating procedure. So if you now publish into OncoTarget, they would use image forensic tools. They have a disclaimer on their website itself. ठीक है? तो ऐसे ही अब ये common practice बन गया है. Use of image forensic tools like photo forensics, image twin, or proofing is a common practice. In fact, universities like Stanford, Harvard, and many other universities have subscribed to these tools to make sure that the data that is going out is integral, right? Okay, and we may also, we in India may also want to consider this as a standard operating procedure. So maybe a common consortium or a common hub, like centrally like we have this common portal for publications now, right? We can have a common portal across the country where these image tools will be made accessible to all research scholars. So we should have this kind of policy. It can be, sent to the right kind of leaders so that it can become accessible to all research scholars. Like a drill bit. If you are aware of the software drill bit is a plagiarism checking software. Text plagiarism of text. It has been made available to all the universities by the government itself, right? So similarly, the government can have mechanisms to provide the photoforensic tool to all universities, right? So currently, this is a claim from OncoTarget. Currently, they use advanced image forensic services to check images in all submitted papers. They utilize in-house developed as well as commercial softwares. I had talked about Image Twin, right? Image Twin software is another software that many publication houses are using. But the basic idea is same with all of them. The stepwise procedure is also same with most of them. Image journals subscribe to the very popular tool, which is Image Twin. As soon as its fully functional version became publicly available, they typically perform three types of image forensics for the papers. Seek and blast in. Okay, seek and blast in. Okay. These are the three types of checks that your data may undergo. So for all those researchers who are submitting data sequences, who are submitting primer sequences, who are submitting protein sequences, their data will undergo checks by using this tool, seek and blast in, that spots in incorrect gene sequences reported in experiments, gene sequences as in DNA sequences. Information about image forensics can be found in the relevant section on editorial web pages. So advice to authors is the right place to find the necessary tools for a particular publication house. In addition to these tools, they maintain their own database containing information about all questionable papers. So now most of the publishing houses maintain their list of retracted papers. So that you can see, you can be aware that these papers are not supposed to be cited in your studies. Moving forward. So plagiarism is defined as reusing someone else's words, ideas, or results. It ranges from unreferenced use of others' published and unpublished ideas, including research grant applications to submit under new authorship of a complete paper, sometimes in a different language. So plagiarism, I think most of you are aware of. So plagiarism is not just confined to picking up stuff for your review article. It may be confined, it may also include plagiarism of ideas. I mean, maybe your friend discussed an idea with you, okay? And you presented it as your own. That is plagiarism of idea, okay? Embezzlement of idea is another malpractice. It is just like plagiarism. Embezzlement is like you were a review grant, you were reviewing the research grant. You decided to reject that grant and then submit the grant as your own. That is embezzlement of idea. Okay, that is also a malpractice. It may occur at any stage of planning, research, writing, or publication. It applies to both print and electronic versions. Plagiarism takes different forms from literal copying to paraphrasing somebody else's work and can include data, words and phrases, ideas, and concepts. Plagiarism has varying different levels of severity, such as how much of someone's work was taken, whether you had taken a few lines, paragraphs, pages, the whole article. Okay. What was copied, results, methods, or introduction section. So severity depends upon what was copied. So copying of results is very severe. Copying of images is very severe. Okay? You may, I mean, I would not, I would not at all propagate this idea. You may and may not. If you have to write an introduction section, write it in your own words. Understand the crux and write it in your own words. If you are not able to write in a particular language, write in your own language. Hire a translator who can translate the work for you. Fine? But the understanding has to be yours. So plagiarism, these are different types of actions which are associated with plagiarism: literal copying, substantial copying, paraphrasing. Okay, literal copying means totally copy paste kar diya without giving any citation. Substantial copying means result copy kar diya ya fir pura introduction copy kar diya, parts of the paper were copied. And paraphrasing means reproducing somebody's idea. But if you're reproducing it in your own words, then it's not a problem because you will not have totally original ideas. You would want to take inspiration from others. Then there's a concept of self-plagiarism. What is self-plagiarism? What? Sorry? Copying own work?
To publish one work in many journals at a time.
That is a simultaneous submission. Self-plagiarism is copying from your own papers, citing your papers overly. Sometimes you are required to cite your own papers, so that's not a malpractice because you may be reporting something for the first time, and if you have to refer to that study, then you would cite your own paper. You don't have to take everything from the first paper verbatim. You have to cite that paper, as so on and so forth. Adila et al., right? First paper would be Adila et al., 2020, 25, right? And other paper may be in 28. So you have to cite to your paper. You don't have to copy everything from the first paper. So self-citation is not unethical if you are citing it, right? But you don't have to overly cite your own papers only to increase their citation. Okay? So self-plagiarism is copying one's own work verbatim. Okay? So what is this? This is a picture of paper which has been subjected to the plagiarism software tool like Drillbit, Authenticate, or Turnitin. We have three tools which are available: Turnitin, Authenticate, and Drillbit. So your paper would look like this. It will be colored all across, and the colors mean how much percentage of copying is there. Okay, and so you can before submitting the paper, we can rearrange, rewrite the portions and then can submit it without any plagiarism. So most scientific journals will scan the incoming manuscripts for textual similarities with special software. The most widely used software is Authenticate, which can scan text against a proprietary database of already published scientific papers, books, and websites. So Authenticate, Turnitin, Drillbit. These are three softwares that are available to us. So in our university, we are using Drillbit, but most of the scholars use two softwares as a practice. They go for report from Turnitin and Drillbit. So these are the types of plagiarism: plagiarism of ideas, plagiarism of text, verbatim copying, self-plagiarism, duplicate publication, salami publication, and practice of text recycling. So we have talked about most of the things. We have not talked about salami publication and duplicate publication. Duplicate publication would mean publishing the same paper It may be in another language, but then you have to declare that it was already published in English language. We are just translating it. It's not an additional publication. It's a publication which has been translated in other language.
And how about publishing it into another paper, into another journal? What will you call it?
Another journal, Mani?
Suppose we have published a paper in Scopus.
हाँ.
Now we are publishing the same paper into another journal.
नहीं, वो तो कर ही नहीं सकते हैं.
डुप्लीकेट कॉपी
नहीं कर सकते हैं. डुप्लीकेट है. डुप्लीकेट. जी, आज आप पूछ रहे हैं टाइप ऑफ वो क्या है प्लेजर्स. वैसे तो नहीं करना चाहिए.
हाँ, होता भी नहीं है.
नहीं होता है, ऐसा नहीं है. अभी मैं आपको एग्जांपल्स दिखाऊंगी. ऐसा करते हैं लोग. जी. मगर अगर सेम लैंग्वेज में है तो उसमें पकड़ा नहीं जाता है इंसान. लाइक यू नो they do it by translating it in another language.
फायदा क्या?
फायदा कुछ नहीं है. उनको maybe you know the bodies are not aware of. They want to increase the number of publications. वैसे तो predatory journals में भी छापने से कोई फायदा नहीं है, right? But number of publications बढ़ रहा है उनका, जो भी कर रहे हैं. Salami publication is salami publication. Salami.
Verbatim.
Verbatim is total copying, word by word, without citing. If you put it in a inverted comma and cite the reference, then it's not plagiarism because you are giving us the reference, right? Okay. Where you're not giving us the reference, where you're passing it off as your own thought process, then it's a problem.
Many of government institutes generating its own data. Like, for example, how many number of patents registered in patent office. So we can take some images of the same data and write here sources. Government.
You can write the sources, yes. You have to cite the source.
It is not plagiarism.
No, it's not. Unless they have mentioned. You go to the original body, you go to the original government website or whichever website, for example, common images like, common images like images of flowers and all that stuff that we use in our calendars. Okay, we have not generated them probably.
Sometimes universal data is accurate.
Yes. No, yeah, you tell me.
That time we can use that data or not?
Universal data, you can use that data, but you have to cite, you have to refer to the source. So if you're using data from the Indian Patent Office, for example, you have to refer to the source. This data that I'm presenting here, I'm presenting it verbatim from source XYZ. So government की website का आप नाम लिखेंगे या उस report का नाम लिखेंगे. For example, if we are reporting the data from National Cancer Registry, right? So we'll use the data as it is in our study and we'll cite, okay, this thing has been taken from National Cancer Registry. Okay, but unke kya permissions hai, you should be aware of that. Like whether the IPO is giving you permission to use the data, right? Similar is the case with ISRO. There's a lot of data available on websites of ISRO. Remote sensing ka data use, available here. So people working in the area of environment sustainability, they might require the remote sensing data, right? So first they have to be aware whether they are allowed by the government bodies to use the data. The disclaimers are already in the government bodies. If there is no restriction from the government body itself, you can cite with correct source now, right? And for common pictures also, if you're using a picture from Shutterstock or other bodies, you should see what is the copyright, guideline. ठीक है, source आप कर सकते हैं site. Salami publication is to make chop a big publication into multiple small publications. Chop, like, you have a study which you conducted for 4 years. At the end of 4 years, you may have generated enough data for one good paper. right? Enough data for one good paper, which would give the same results, same observations. Whether you present the data in 4 papers or 1 paper, the results are not going to change. So अगर ऐसा situation है कि आपका 4 years का data is giving the same conclusions, right? So you should publish 1 paper. Ideally. But people, what they do, they chop it into 4 different papers, right? They make us read 4 different papers, which are telling you the same thing. To increase the number of publications. So the result is not changing, the inference is not changing. They are making the reader read 4 different papers, suggesting the same result. This is a case of salami publication. Your salami slicing. ना सलामी स्लाइस करते हैं ना ब्रेड स्लाइस की तरह, right? So salami publication is chopping your own work into multiple different publications and not making any significant advancement in the knowledge, right? If you were reporting 4 different types of results which were connected, then it was okay. Or your paper was getting very big and the paper was suggesting some different observations, then it was okay to divide it into 2 papers. But एक ही paper, एक ही result को 4 different papers में chop करना is not good. People do it frequently because they want to increase their number of publications. Okay. So salami publication is also an unethical practice.
And then what is that verbatim copy?
कौन सा?
Ma'am, third one.
Verbatim, word to word.
Word. Verbatim copying is word to word. कोई effort नहीं डाली हमने पेपर उठाया, आंख बंद करके उसका सारा कंटेंट भर लिया हमने. हमें ये भी अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है कि हमने क्या उसमें है, मतलब उस पर्सन ने क्या लिखा था. Okay? So many of you are guilty of doing this, verbatim copying. हाँ? कौन सा?
Plagiarism of text और verbatim में क्या फर्क है?
हाँ, इसमें थोड़ा सा पैराफ्रेजिंग करते हैं, इसमें आप अपना कुछ थोड़ा सा डायरेक्ट तो आपने प्लेजराइज किया, लेकिन आपने कुछ थोड़े इंटरमिटेंट चेंजेस किए, मतलब थोड़ा सा दिमाग लगाया, रीफ्रेज कर दिया, या फिर अपने अंडरस्टैंडिंग के अकॉर्डिंग ये रिजल्ट्स डिफाइन कर दिए, मतलब समरी अपने हिसाब से निकाली. डायरेक्ट तो किया हमने उठाया उसका ही आइडिया उठाया, लेकिन हमने उसमें अपना थोड़ा सा ट्विस्ट दे दिया. वर्बैटिम में हमने कुछ काम ही नहीं किया, डायरेक्टली कॉपी किया, कोई उसमें आइडिया वगैरह नहीं. So that is why PhD should be taken, pursuing PhD should be taken as an intentional, action. If you are not cut out for all these things, do not do PhD. It's my honest suggestion to all of those who are not cut out for this kind of stringency. If you cannot be so stringent with you, do not go for PhD. It's my humble suggestion. Because every unethical practice is contaminating the research landscape for everybody. Okay. So अपना decision पे अगर आप कायम हैं, you think that you have that kind of strength to go through these rigorous processes, please proceed. And I think that most of you look like sincere students, so I think you will go through with flying colors. Inshallah. Then we should talk about how we can stop the practice of, stop, not totally stop. We can, mitigate the misconduct of plagiarism. So we can mitigate it by citing the sources. Okay, sources. We can cite the sources from where we have taken the idea, right? If मेरे friend ने मुझे idea दिया है, तो I should acknowledge the friend, right? I should not say that, okay, I had this, in the morning I got up and, a bulb just illuminated and I got this idea. I should acknowledge the friend, right? Isn't it? Or my collaborator. isn't it? So, and if it's your original idea, take credit for it. Give due credit where it's required. It doesn't hurt. It will not hurt you. It will just reinforce and bring trust in that collaboration. So secondary sources, I think one slide we had overshot. So there are two types of academic sources. So why are we talking about sources? We are talking about sources because we want to curtail this misconduct practice, plagiarism. And when can we do that? When we cite the correct type of sources. For in academic literature, we have two types of sources: the primary source and the secondary source. What is a primary source? There are two basic types of academic sources. Primary source is the main text or work that you are discussing, the original paper, right? So Einstein gave us the theory of relativity. Yeah. Okay, so he must have published it in some journal, right? That original journal will be accessible to you. So that will constitute the primary source. So when you're citing to the original work, that will be your primary source. So for example, you are referring to sonnet by Shakespeare. So these sources are preserved. So you can go to the original source, you can cite the original source, you can read it and get an understanding of what the source was suggesting. PhD is about using your mind, right? Using it creatively, right? So whatever Shakespeare has said, the inference can be based upon your understanding, right? Actual data or results, research results, for example, a scientific article presenting original findings, statistics. So go to the references, you must be aware of references. Does a research paper have references?
Yes.
Where? At the beginning, at the end? At the end, right? So those references are the sources which you have cited in that paper, right? Okay? So these can be of two types, primary or secondary. It's always a good practice to refer to the primary source. Why?
Original in nature.
It's original in nature. Yes, it is original in nature. So फिर क्या होगा? आप सही कह रहे हैं, ओरिजिनल है, राइट? सो ओरिजिनल से हमें क्या पता लगेगा? Yeah.
The level of confidence.
The level of confidence that you would have in the primary source will be higher because it's the original source. You get to understand the result better, or you get to understand the concept better when you refer to the original source. Secondary sources may be based upon interpretation of other people, right? So, for example, I read the primary source of sonnet by Shakespeare. I refer to it, I make some inferences based upon the primary source, and you refer to my work.
That is secondary.
That is secondary. So, what is the harm in using that secondary source?
That was your.
That was my interpretation, right? That may not be identical to what Shakespeare originally meant to say, right? So it's always a good practice to go to the primary source. But if at all, the primary source is damaged, is not accessible, then you can look for good, respectable secondary sources. अब वो एक trick है, it's very tricky to understand कि कौन सा secondary source respectable है और कौन सा नहीं है. तो वहाँ थोड़ा मेहनत लगेगी. You will have to go for groups whose research integrity is well known, right? Okay? I hope you're not getting bored.
Not at all.
People at the back, are you active enough? Yes? People at the back are my favorite students. So we want their participation too. Not that you are not. Okay? So primary source, ideally best practices refer to the primary source. Historical documents, for example, letters, pamphlets, political tracts, manifestos, they would be preserved in libraries. So go to that source. अभी तो लाइब्रेरी जाने का टाइम नहीं है, right? So maybe libraries can upgrade and they can digitize these primary sources and make them accessible to you so that you don't have to go to the library. At the click of a mouse, you get access to the digital sources. Yeah, it will be convenient, right? Secondary sources. The works that discuss your primary source. Okay, secondary source is an automatically a work that describes the primary source. For example, an article analyzing Shakespeare's sonnet. Article analyzing Shakespeare's sonnet. So this is the problem in the secondary source. So the article analyzing this may not be totally objective. It may have biases. It may have objectivity, judgment of the user, right?
Preconceived notions.
Preconceived notions. या फिर उसका अपना अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो, जरूरी नहीं है कि वो सही हो, right? An article analyzing Shakespeare's sonnet, a review of an opera performance, a textbook that synthesizes research in a particular field, a newspaper editorial expressing an opinion on a political manifesto. So a newspaper, I mean, what do you do with a secondary source that is coming out of a newspaper, right? So what will you do? You'll go to the primary source. Sources may occur in a variety of formats, including oral and written forms. Historical may be documented nahi ho history, so oral accounts पे हमें ध्यान देना पड़ेगा, right? Okay, maybe historians who are good in their field. Print media such as books, articles, encyclopedias, dictionaries, journals, and newspapers, secondary sources. So that's why I have included it. Audio-visual media such as film, TV, radio, sound recordings, artwork, research findings such as raw data, lab results, interviews, graphs, charts, and tables. So depending upon your domain, you choose which your secondary source is going to be. So you cite the source. But as a practice, cite the primary sources. Internet sources such as websites, reference works, electronic text, hypertext, news groups, personal communications such as letters, email, memos, class lectures, and conversations. All primary and secondary sources should be used in the correct format. In whichever format they are available to you, they should be properly documented and cited. So when you refer to an article, you are citing the source. When you are using a reference in your article, you are citing the source. So as a principle, use the primary source. Wherever the primary source is not available, there may be cases where the primary source is not available, then you go to a reliable secondary source. This is the crux of the matter. Okay? This is a take-home message for you. So if you want to avoid plagiarism, cite the correct sources, preferably from the primary sources. If primary source is not available, go for reliable secondary sources. I have given you the list of formats that are considered to be as secondary sources. Okay? Why should I document sources? Why should we document sources? Documenting sources to serve two main purposes. Acknowledgement. You are giving credit where it's due. आइंस्टाइन की रिलेटिविटी थ्योरी अगर हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, अब आइंस्टाइन को ही नहीं क्रेडिट करेंगे तो अच्छा नहीं लगेगा ना? अच्छा लगेगा? नो, इट्स अच्छा कैसे लगेगा? बिकॉज हम तो उन्हीं के वर्क से शुरू कर रहे हैं, राइट? So it acknowledges the original source and gives credit where credit is due. That is why the first reason, primary reason why we should cite the sources. Second is it allows readers to track down your source. Okay, it allows readers. So for example, I'm reading your paper. Okay, whenever we read a paper, we do not understand it in the first go. I mean, at least I don't understand it in the first go. No one does, right? So what do? We go to the back reference, right? We have a reference. Whatever part we have not understood, we go to the back reference so that we can go to the source where all this story has originated, right? ठीक है, अगर आपने बहुत सारे secondary sources refer किए हैं तो chances are that we'll have to spend a lot of time reaching the origin. So it's better you know refer to the primary source. Okay, it helps you track down the trajectory. It helps you track down the genesis of the idea. Okay, so this is why I'm suggesting that try to refer to primary source because आपका paper पहली बार ही पढ़ेंगे. So if I have not understood something, I'll click the paper. It will be the primary source. I'll get an idea. Okay, the author wanted to say X, Y, Z, right? So I don't have to go through 100 papers and reach the original paper, right? So where do it allows readers to track down your source and determine the validity of your claims.
And it will give clarity in the mind.
It will give clarity to everybody, to the reader, to the author, to everybody. Why do I need to document sources? There are several ways of incorporating outside sources into your work. Direct citation, where you quote a source directly word by word, but inverted commas, where you reproduce source material without alteration, for example, diagrams, charts, other audio, visual material. So you have picked up all this, okay? You have picked up all this. But I'm saying that it's not wrong. Why?
Because I have cited.
Because you have cited. You have given us the pointers that you have taken so and so from this paper, right? So if I have to take a picture as part of a research, your research thesis, you should seek permission from the authors. You should write to them, okay, I want to use this. You should seek permission from them. Right? We write to authors. If we are not able to reproduce a particular picture, we write to them. Do I have permission to use this picture in my paper or thesis? How will you write to these authors? Do you know them? We know them. I mean, their virtual identity is there on the paper. Affiliations are there, emails are there. Write to them. Why? If you're so interested in using their work. ठीक है? So cite किया आपने direct citation where you reproduce source material without alteration, indirect citation where you reproduce part or all of someone else's ideas in your own words, commonly known as paraphrasing. There are paraphrasing tools available nowadays. There are a lot of paraphrasing tools available nowadays. So you can convert the text into a paraphrased, altered text. It is not completely ethical, but you can take that help. You need to have, again, your interface has to be there because sometimes the paraphrasing takes away the idea.
Yes.
I mean, it misrepresents the idea. Mostly, it misrepresents the idea. So even if you're using a paraphrasing tool, don't you rely completely on that. Make the inference on your own. Use your human intelligence to do that. AI, artificial intelligence, is trained because humans are training it. Right? So it is as intelligent as we are, right? It may have an advantage of speed, but the understanding is something which we have trained it for, right? So we have to use our understanding.
As per my understanding, AI can never replace human.
It cannot, but it eases out a lot of things.
Yes.
That is why I said that it has the advantage of speed.
Yes, that's the only thing.
That it can process your data in seconds, right? Which will take years to do, right? But then we should have that interface. The final जो हम inference निकालने हैं वो हम अपनी understanding के according. It will not replace completely. Because we are the trainers, so if it will replace trainers, तो फिर क्या रहेगा? नहीं replace नहीं कर पाएगा, but it will ease out a lot of things. Lot of diseases are going to be contained because of application of AI. It will help us in diagnosing patterns prior. बहुत इजी हो जाएगा. हमें हर चीज के लिए डॉक्टर के पास नहीं जाना होगा. हम अपना टेस्ट रिपोर्ट अपलोड करेंगे. It will tell us a pattern कि you may have propensity to have this kind of disease, right? Okay, test report like a simple blood test, right? So it will ease out lot of things. So that is why I said AI is not completely a monster.
Ma'am, the
It-
thing you are talking about, I did it recently.
Okay.
I did my like blood reports and I was confused.
Hmm.
Ki what exactly that meant. I opened Google Gemini, I clicked the picture and I asked.
Hmm.
It was correct. It was actually correct.
But then you are not authorized to check the correctness of this report. So that correctness has to be left to the doctor, medical doctor, right? So this is the power of AI. We'll be able to reduce lot of disease burden if we apply AI in the right direction. So we are using AI here. We are using AI paraphrasing tools. So coming back to the topic, we have a lot of AI tools which help us in paraphrasing, but the problem is they take away the central message. So उस पे आपको खुद ही ध्यान देना है कि ये जो हमें बना के दे रहा है whether the central message is intact or lost. Both direct and indirect citations require double quotations. Then you have levels of plagiarism. Plagiarism would be quantified in following levels in ascending order of severity for the purpose of its definition. So there are levels of severity, and depending upon the severity, penalties can be given to you. अब आप कहेंगे अरे पीएचडी में आप पेनल्टीज की बात कर रही हैं, हम पूरा एमएससी ऐसे ही करके आए हैं. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है ना. It's at some point of time you can be aware of the right practices, and it's never too late. All right. So severity of punishment is proportional to the level of plagiarism. So level 0, wherever you have similarity of up to 10%, these are considered to be minor similarities, so no penalty is there. Up to 10%. Because 10% sometimes methodology is common, right? So what can you change in methodology? I mean, how much permutation combination can you do? Methodologies are common. So you cannot change much there. So that 10% may be coming from the methods. The 10% may be coming from, say, standard terms. If for example, in law, if it is a particular amendment, it is a particular amendment. We cannot change it, right? In terms of education, if it's a particular bill that we are referring to, we cannot change the name of the bill. In case of biomedical scientists, जी फॉर्मूले हैं उनको नहीं चेंज कर सकते हैं. So if it's getting considered as a similarity, we can give a disclaimer or we can write a rebuttal that this should not be considered in percentage of similarity. Okay, so 10% you'll get. Level 1 similarities about 10 to 40%. Level 2 is similarities about 40 to 60%. Level 3 is totally copied. Similarities above 60%. So according to the levels, how many levels are there? 4 levels are there, and according to the severity, punishment is described. Penalty. So what are the reasons for plagiarism? What are the reasons for plagiarism? I have given you the reasons. You tell me what are the reasons. Why do people use this shortcut?
Casual approach.
1, casual approach.
Patience. Lack of
Patience. 2, people at
Not understanding the topic itself.
Girls on the 3rd row. That one. Yeah. 2 people. आप ही लोग से बात कर रहे हैं, एक दूसरे को देख रहे हैं. बताइए आप लोग. ये कह रहे हैं कि lack of patience, casual approach, or
Lack of knowledge.
lack of knowledge.
Lack of intent.
Lack of hard work.
Lack of intent.
Lack of intent. हार्ड वर्क भी नहीं. हार्ड वर्क तो कोई नहीं करना चाह रहा. इंटेंट. हार्ड वर्क करना भी नहीं है आपको. हार्ड वर्क करिए, स्मार्ट वर्क करिए, राइट?
Now, often people are not aware of that it is a punishable crime.
Okay.
People are not aware.
Lady from MBA, yes. Yeah.
So often people are not aware that it is a punishable crime and it is kind of stealing someone else's idea.
Whose problem is that?
Who is writing the report, he or she?
No, lack of awareness.
Lack of honesty.
रिसर्चर्स को पता होना चाहिए और मैम यूनिवर्सिटी को उस हिसाब से गाइड करना चाहिए that it is unethical and even if you are working it should be quoted.
Tabi, we'll go back to earlier discussion. We had already reached this conclusion that this practice of awareness should be started in the schools. One 2 hours probably, because we are not teaching any moral science now. Earlier, when some of you may agree with me that we earlier used to have 2 hours of
Value education.
value education. We have it in the curriculum, but
अभी भी है, लेकिन teachers are not teaching that value education.
Because poor teachers, they don't have time. They have time, but they have other jobs. So when are we going to understand that value education class is equally important? More important than science class.
हम actually जो mothers teaching दे रही हैं, वही teaching बच्चों को है.
वो भी पूरी नहीं है ना. Mothers are busy.
Mothers
are working, right? There's no system in place. So there are only 2 places where they can learn, in their value education class or the minuscule time that they are getting with their families. They're not getting enough time with the families too, right? This is the reality, right? So value education has to be enforced. It is there on paper. Everything is there on paper, but how much time are we giving? So you're saying lack of awareness. I'll give you an anecdote. I don't know whether I have time to give this anecdote. It's not a very happy story, but it was an eye opener. Eye opener इसलिए कहूँगी because after I completed my PhD, I went for my postdoctoral training to Medical College of Georgia in USA. Okay, so there, whenever you join postdoctoral position or whenever you join any position, before you can start working in the lab, you have to complete a course on research integrity. Okay, fine. So you are not taught. You have to take a self-paced course, like we are having on a face-to-face class, right? We were not having a face-to-face class. We had to go through a self-paced course, and on the basis of that self-paced course, we had to take a test. And test was a qualifier. Like either you would qualify the test or you would not. And if you would not qualify the test, then you had to take the test again. You would be given some time for correction, and then you had to take. So because it was an online test, so 2 of our lab mates, we had joined the lab together, so we decided to take the test. We could discuss. It was not a proctored test. Discuss कर सकते थे. In the lab only, whatever real life questions, they had asked us questions on case studies. So they had given us case studies, and we had to say whether the practice is ethical or not ethical. उसी में एक question आया कि like a similar kind of question कि somebody wrote the report and the other person used the report as it is, right? So would you consider it to be an unethical practice or not? Okay. So my colleague, who incidentally was a undergrad student, my colleague, like he was there, they have a practice of working for 1 year.
Okay.
After 12th, they take up an internship in the labs for 1 year. They work for 1 year to understand their interest, and then they decide whether they want to become doctors or engineers or whatever, or scientists. So this fellow has just completed 12th, is an undergraduate, and has taken the test with me, and we are facing the same question. ये आपके answer बता रही हूँ मैं, आपकी तरह थी मैं, right? So I, in the sense, because I had just completed PhD, but I was debating. In my head, I was trying to find an answer to give a justification. So I wrote there was an option कि the person should be made aware कि उसको practices पता होने चाहिए कि उसको copy नहीं करना था. So I had already completed PhD, right? I could not decide fully कि whether it's a unethical practice. In my mind, I knew it is an unethical practice, but I also considered the scenario कि हमारे कॉन्टिनेंट में अभी हमारी इतनी ट्रेनिंग नहीं होती है, राइट? इट इज लाइक असाइनमेंट कॉपी करना is a regular process, right? We are never told that this is not right. Our teacher also does not cut our marks कि ये सही नहीं है, right? So I was putting it in context and I was, thinking of an answer कि people who are not aware because they have never been made aware, so they should be given some training. So I picked up that option. So according to my mind, I picked up that option. My friend who was a undergrad, he clearly wrote it's an unethical practice. Then I discussed with him. He was appalled, kind of. I said, what? He said, what, a PhD student, an MSc student, an undergrad student does not know that he cannot copy somebody else's report? तो उसको तो कल्चर शॉक लग गया कि मतलब इतने बड़े होने तक हमें यही नहीं पता होगा कि रिपोर्ट दूसरे की कॉपी नहीं कर सकते हैं. तो दैट इज द डिस्कनेक्ट. शी इज राइट, वी शुड मेक देम अवेयर, बट वी आर मेकिंग एवरीबॉडी अवेयर एट अ वेरी लेट स्टेज, राइट? तो हमें ये अवेयरनेस शुरू में ही करनी पड़ेगी. एनेक्डोट इसलिए बता रही हूँ मैं क्योंकि कल्चर्स में देखिए कितना डिफरेंस है. They are getting trained from the school. So after 12th also this fellow knew that it's an unethical practice. And I was putting it in context, keeping in mind that, maybe most of the people who are landing up as postdocs or as doctoral students would not know that, they are not supposed to copy, right? So cultural differences. But now we live in a global system, so we cannot claim that we were not aware. We have to make ourselves aware, right? To allow people to trust our science. Okay? Trust our science. Our science means the results, the research studies that are coming out of India. So unawareness of research integrity policies. So now we cannot claim we are unaware. None of you can claim that we did this or that because we were unaware. You are very much aware of the research integrity policies. Poor English proficiency. Yeah, language barriers are real barriers. So these barriers should be curtailed. If somebody is not able to understand in English, there should be provisions कि वो या तो खुद को train करे या फिर उसके लिए हम ऐसा provision रखें कि समझे. Attitudes towards plagiarism. चलता है attitude, right? अरे ठीक है, क्या हो जाएगा? मैम थोड़े से नंबर कम दे देंगे. What is the problem? But you inculcate that culture. You perpetuate that culture. Cultural values, lack thereof. These are not values. These are lack of values. Publish or perish mantra. This is again a real thing. Publish or perish mantra. For all those who are in labs, they have this pressure of publishing lot of papers. So if you do not publish regularly, there is always a chance that you will become obsolete. So publish or perish culture is also fostering plagiarism because you want to publish maybe 40 papers a year. How many papers can ideally be published in a year?
6 max.
अरे ज्यादा बता रहे. 1 और 2. अगर सिंगल हैंडेडली है, बड़ा ग्रुप है तो 3-4 कर सकते हैं. बड़ा ग्रुप अगर है, 2 लोग हैं लैब में, कोलैबोरेट भी कर रहे हैं तो 2 या 3 से ज्यादा कितना छाप पाएंगे? नहीं पॉसिबल है. It's not possible. If somebody is publishing,
बायोसाइंस की पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बता रहे हैं.
किसी भी वेट लैब अगर कर रहे हैं या वेट लैब अगर कर रहे हैं, वेट लैब मींस की लैब वर्क.
वेटनरी लैब.
सो आप अगर आइडियली 6 महीने का एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे हैं, उसको 3 बार रिपीट कर रहे हैं, तो आप देखें ना कितना टाइम लग रहा है, राइट? और अगर बायोलॉजी में भी रोज ही पेपर छाप रहा है बंदा तो उसमें रेड फ्लैग होना चाहिए. इट शुड क्रिएट अ डाउट. Okay, and computer science maybe they are analyzing data, meta-analysis data can be published at a greater frequency. Alright.
सोशल
But they-
साइंस तो मैम काफी हो सकते हैं.
सोशल साइंस में ही तो नहीं होते हैं पेपर्स.
मैनेजमेंट हो सकते हैं.
हो सकते हैं
HRD में
बिकॉज
हो सकते
वो मेटा एनालिसिस करेंगे. बट अगेन उधर भी डेटा का फजिंग नहीं चलेगा. जी जी.
अगर मैटर नेशनल सिक्योरिटी का हो
हम्म.
तो क्या टेररिज्म सही होगा?
सॉरी.
अगर मैटर नेशनल सिक्योरिटी का हो तो क्या डेटा चोरी करना सही होगा या नहीं?
चोरी क्यों करना है डेटा?
कॉपी करना जैसे
नहीं, जो डेटा तो कभी भी चोरी नहीं करना है, वेदर इट्स मैटर ऑफ नेशनल सिक्योरिटी और सॉरी. ओके.
तो उसके लिए हर कंट्री ने अपने अपने बॉम्ब बनाने की कोशिश की. जैसे बहुत सारी कंट्रीज हैं न्यूक्लियर डेटा को कॉपी किया और अपना रिसर्च करके उससे उन्होंने कॉपी बॉम्ब बनाया. तो क्या ये चीज एथिकल?
ये कहाँ एथिकल है? बॉम्ब बनाना ही नहीं एथिकल है. No, I got your point. Yeah, they did not use the correct sources. So if you are asking me, I mean, I think we can go off the mic and then answer your question. Spyware is never ethical, isn't it? You're talking about spying practices. तो कहाँ वो प्राइवेसी तो ब्रीच कर ही नहीं है. किसी की भी तो प्राइवेसी ब्रीच कर रहे हैं. No, that will not come under ethical practices at all.
अल्टीमेटली एपेक्स लेवल पे एथिक्स वर्क नहीं करती.
किस पे?
एपेक्स लेवल टॉप लेवल.
या बट टॉप भी तो कभी कोलैप्स करता है. हिस्ट्री, यू हैव सीन हिस्ट्री, सो वी शुड टेक लेसन्स फ्रॉम हिस्ट्री. I mean, we have not seen any culture perish. Cultures flourish even after rounds of violence and all, right? So we have to take lessons from history. And top level पे ethics नहीं work करते हैं, इसीलिए सारी problems. Okay? So if the primary people who are getting affected by these unethical practices are not objective enough about it, तो क्या ही कर सकते हैं, right? So that is a different discussion. We will stick to our contributions. We are those birds who are making positive contribution, right? We are those birds who are going to get our names written in history as the positive contributors. All right. So yeah, coming back to what we were talking about, these are the reasons why people go for shortcuts. Okay. Who is responsible to check plagiarism? Responsibility is a shared one involving journal editors, reviewers, heads of university departments, dean R&D. Okay. So before we send the paper to journal editors, reviewers, professional societies, individual scientists, authors, head of the university departments, dean R&D. Finally, before we send the paper, you will get a manuscript communication number from the dean office. So before sending it off, all these checks and balances would have been done. Role of editors in checking plagiarism. On receiving review articles from individuals who have never, अच्छा ये red flags है. How to identify somebody who may have indulged in malpractice. So sir ने कहा कि we have practice of practice of hyper prolific authors has become very common. Hyper prolific authors, HPA, hyper prolific authors. These are authors who are publishing more than 40 papers per year. Okay, authors who on an average are publishing more than 40 papers per year. So if you come across such kind of name as a part of the publication, the editors, ये editors के लिए हम कह रहे हैं. Guideline is what? Roles of editors in checking plagiarism. So this is a pointer as to how they are going to flag somebody's paper. How? On receiving review articles from individuals who have never published original research papers. Suddenly somebody became an author. Okay. So whenever we send our first paper as a corresponding author, it's always difficult to get it published. It takes longer time because हमारी history नहीं होती है, right? So once we build a history of publications, we become relatively safe. But always, whenever you publish your first paper as a corresponding author, the level of stringency is always higher. Okay? Because वो क्या देख रहा है editor? तो देख रहा है कि इस person ने इस area में पहली बारी कोई contribution किया है. Okay? दूसरा कौन सा है red flag? Another red flag is hyper-prolific authors. All those authors who are publishing more than 40 papers per year. With original articles, it is, however, much more difficult, as there are at least 8,000 medical journals in the world, and many of these must receive thousands of papers a year. So, with AI, this job has become very smooth. Editors should become educators, that is, they should teach authors about standards in publishing and research through continuing education. So this class is also a part of continuing education. Advice to authors is also a part of continuing education. COPE guidelines is also a part of continuing education. Procedure on suspicion of plagiarism. Kya procedure hai? What is the process? If somebody has been found to have committed fabrication, falsification or plagiarism, what is the procedure? What is the course of action? To decide penalty. No? So on ascertainment of plagiarism, a statement should be requested of authors. So the editors will ask the authors to furnish data for that whatever claim was there. So they will review it. If they find the data to be satisfactory, the allegation will be quashed. If they do not find it satisfactory, they'll write to your institution from where the affiliation is, right? Okay? If no plausible explanation is given, submitted articles will be rejected, and reviewers, authors, supervisors, and their institutions should be notified. Okay? ये standard operating procedure है. Reviewer या फिर editor को ये doubt आया है कि whatever data you have reported may not be having the correct integrity. So what they'll do is they'll write to you, they'll ask for the raw data, right? So you may furnish the raw data or you may not. If you have done the experiment, you'll be able to furnish the raw data. They will examine the raw data, they'll figure out whether the error was honest or not. And there are two options, either it is yes or no. Means the figures may be you may be able to provide an explanation and the allegation will be taken away, or you may not be able to satisfy the allegation, whatever documentation you were required to give. So if there is no plausible explanation, your article will be rejected. If it's already been published, it will be retracted and your institution will be notified. So for every retracted article or any article which is compromised, the institution is notified always. Publishers should recall previously published articles and notify all relevant database. Integrity तो एक ही बार ही lose करता है ना इंसान, right? बार बार नहीं कर सकता है. You lose it once, right? So एक paper question में आ गया. That means 10 other papers that you may have published will also come under question. The following SOP is suggested for dealing with alleged cases of scientific misconduct, right? This is the standard operating procedure. So for example, it has been found that, okay, the person is guilty. So this is the standard operating procedure. Complaint information can be entertained from identified individual. So whoever is making an allegation has to identify himself or herself. Anonymous allegations are not entertained. So this is the first thing, right? The allegation cannot be anonymous. It has to be named. So if the reviewer is making an allegation, he or she has to name himself, right? And the author whom they are suspecting. The scientific misconduct is to be investigated by the Scientific Investigation Board, SIB. Every institution is supposed to have a SIB. SIB is Scientific Investigation Board. हर institution के पास होना चाहिए, हर research institution as well as the universities. In universities, we call them an institutional academic integrity procedures. या panel, IAIP, Institutional Academic Integrity Panel. The case of major and severe transgressions involving penalties such as deferred promotion, these are the penalties. This is the menu of penalties. Menu money, like people can choose depending upon the severity of plagiarism. Deferred promotion, deferred increments, reduction to lower stage, demotion, compulsory retirement, removal from service. They are to be dealt as per the established administrative laws. आपका क्या लॉस हो रहा है, मतलब आपका नहीं, ऑथर का क्या लॉस हो रहा है, स्टूडेंट का क्या लॉस हो रहा है, उसकी पीएचडी रिजेक्ट हो जाए, या अगर आपका जॉब मिला है उसी पीएचडी के ऊपर तो वो जॉब चला जाएगा. गाइड का क्या लॉस होगा, बहुत सारे लॉसेस हो सकते हैं, उनका प्रमोशन रुक सकता है, उनके ग्रांट्स रुक सकते हैं, सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. Penalty is decided in case of if somebody is found guilty of plagiarism, they shall be considered under following class of severity. Level 0 के लिए कोई penalty नहीं. I told you earlier, level 0 does not carry any penalty. Level 1, similarity is above 10 to 40%. They shall be asked to withdraw manuscript. Okay. But I can continue. If you want to leave, you can leave. I want to continue. If you are in a hurry, please leave. It's okay. Similarities above 10 to 40% shall be asked to withdraw manuscript submitted for publication and shall not be allowed to publish any work for a minimum period of 1 year. तो 1 year के लिए ये publish नहीं कर सकते हैं. कौन लोग? 10 to 40%. तो ये अब तो आपको ये वाला नौबत ही नहीं आ रहा है, right? 10 to 40% you are getting to know before publication, right? So you have all the options of correcting your mistakes, right? So if you were lazy earlier, you have to spend some time so that you can bring it to less than 10%. Similarity is above 40 to 60%. They shall be asked to withdraw manuscript submitted for publication, shall not be allowed to publish any work for a minimum of 1 year, and shall be denied a right to 1 annual increment. For all those people who are in job, annual increments are quite important. So the person may be denied 1 annual increment in case of academician. They also shall not be allowed to be a supervisor to any MPhil and PhD student, scholar for a period of 2 years. The cooling off period here. So for example, if somebody wants to hang their boots, right? Take a rest of 2 years. So this is the shortest possible route for them. तो ये सजेस्ट कर सकते हैं हम उन लोगों को जो चाह रहे हैं कि जल्दी जल्दी सभी कुछ हो जाए, तो दे वांट कि लाइक थोड़ा सा रेस्ट कर लेते हैं. 2 साल का रेस्ट दे रही है सरकार किस पे? Plagiarism of similarities of 40 to 60%, right? Fine. So level 3, similarities above 60% shall be asked to withdraw manuscripts submitted for publication and shall not be allowed to publish any work for a period of 3 years. Okay. Then there are some penalties for repeat offenders. उनको बहुत वार्निंग दिया गया, उनके पेपर्स रिट्रैक्ट करे गए, बट उनका लाइक डीएनए में बस गया है ये सब चीज, राइट? ओके, सो निकाल नहीं सकते हैं. सो रिपीटेड ऑफेंडर्स हैं वो, है ना? उनका क्या करना है? पेनल्टी ऑन रिपीटेड प्लेजरिज्म शैल बी आस्क्ड टू विथड्रॉ मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट they shall be punished for the plagiarism of one level higher than the lower level. So, for example, they had a plagiarism of 10 to 40%, but they repeatedly committed it. So, they'll be charged for a higher level. Penalty will be according to 40 to 60%. You get it? रिपीट ऑफेंडर है, एक बार ही उसको समझाया गया है, उनके ऊपर ऑलरेडी पेनल्टी लग चुकी है, राइट, फिर भी सेम ऑफेंस कर रहे हैं. So even if the offense is of 10%, they'll be charged for 40 to 60%, right? Penalty in case where the benefit or credit has already been obtained, right? If plagiarism is proved on a date later than the date of benefit or credit obtained, for example, a promotion can be withdrawn. Okay, any career advancement, if the offense was found on a later date, the promotion can be withdrawn. Fine. Okay, be obtained as the case may be, then his her benefit or credit shall be put in abeyance for a period recommended by IAAP. IAAP का बहुत important role है. In क्या बताया था मैंने इसका नाम? Institutional Academy Integrity Panel, right? There is a composition for this panel. Okay, it has to be approved by the head of the institution, right? So it cannot be any three, four random people coming together and forming a panel. It is an empowered panel, and their job is to check for the check whether the acquisition is correct, factual, and have to give their verdict according to the documentation provided to them, right? So they are like judge. Okay, so we'll stop here. All right? Because yeah, we will stop. So this is where we'll stop. Penalties. So let us ponder about the penalties. So and think about which menu we want to choose or do not want to choose. Okay. And then we meet tomorrow. Inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
कितने बजे खत्म होती है क्लास? 2 ही मिनट तो ज्यादा हो गए. आप एक घंटी रख लीजिए. एक घंटी रख लीजिए. 12-15. कितने बजे होगी?